Hello, everyone. Happy full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. I'm Megan Zimring, and I'm here to share with you a little bit of a video overview about how this Piscean energy is acting in our lives and how we can all harness and optimize the energetics that are available right now to kind of ride the wave in the most conscious way that we possibly can. So I know I've heard from many of my clients, friends, and family that we're all experiencing somewhat intense emotional waves during this time, and that's to be expected during this very watery Piscean energy. And what I want to do is kind of backtrack a little bit and talk about the recent new moon solar eclipse that we experienced a couple weeks ago in Virgo as the kind of a precursor to the evolutionary invitation that we're experiencing now. So 2 weeks ago, we had a new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, and Virgo energy is about doing the work, essentially cleaning house in the grandest sense of the word. So what parts of our lives do we need to kind of clean up a little bit? What areas need attention? How can we take a personal inventory and really get clear on the areas of our lives that aren't working with a certain level of healthy judgment, healthy criticism, and using that discernment to understand what really isn't working, what's wrong, so that we can put our attention into making it right, making our lives function on all cylinders and move very smoothly. So this Virgo energy, as you can feel, is very earthbound. So we're very much focused on the practical, rigorous reality of being human and in the functional components of how do we get from here to there? How do we see with very clear eyes what is, what's the reality, what's the state of being in my life right now in terms of how everything's working, how are my relationships, how's my health, what kinds of routines do I have, what's the habitual state of my life in terms of what's working, what's not working, where can I make some adjustments. So we see with very clear eyes the reality of our lives. And when we see really with clear lenses the reality of our lives, we're also going to see what's wrong, what needs work. So we see what is from a clear-eyed perspective, and we see what should be, what could be, what we hope to create. So our aim with the Virgo energy is to get from what is to what we are aiming for, ideally in a perfect world, what could be, and what are the practical steps that we need to take to get from here to there. What kinds of areas do we need to clean up in order to make space for the reality, the perfection that we're aiming for to enter our experience. So practically, what steps do we need to take to get from what is to what could be? So this is a very earthbound energy. It's about being in the physical and taking care of the practical, sometimes mundane tasks that we need to do to get from point A to point B. This can be exhausting. Virgo energy can manifest as kind of a workhorse type of energy. So also we've seen with the Virgo time, when we see what's wrong, we're cleaning house, sometimes we can become hyper identified with our problems, with what's not working, and we can become down on ourselves from that place. So now moving into this Piscean full moon lunar eclipse, we have the opportunity to kind of zoom out. So we've been somewhat over-identified with our physical reality, with what's wrong, right? How we can fix it. What practical steps do we need to take? What kind of work are we doing? Committing to this routine in order to improve the state of our lives. Beautiful, necessary. We all chose to incarnate. We're in human form. We have to pay attention to the physical realities of our life. But we also have to counterbalance that with this evolutionary invitation in terms of Piscean energy, which is to zoom out. So when we're so focused on our problems or what needs to be fixed, what needs to be improved, we can we're operating from a contracted level of awareness, because my fist is that problems are our physical reality and what we need to work on. So when our consciousness is so fixated on those problems or those issues or where we need to more work, more improvement, we can become contracted. The only thing we're able to notice are these little details, like over-identified with the details. So now during this Piscean time, we have an opportunity to release This is the time to let go, to surrender that attachment. And in surrendering the attachment or the over-identification with that set of issues, we actually are able to zoom out, right? So we release from the problems, we release our over-identification, and we zoom out. Our consciousness literally creates more space. So we relax, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through doing like a float tank, or writing out the things that seem to be stressing you out or holding you down in order to release them, doing a write and burn, just getting over yourself in terms of the physical limitations of this existence, and remembering that you are an infinite being living an infinite number of lifetimes, having this experience that is also expansive. So how can you truly, intentionally expand beyond the problems? As you expand, as you release, as you pull back your perspective, you actually literally create space from the problems to your consciousness. You engage with this universal truth that you are a part of all things. You're a part of the divine. You're a part of the universe itself. You back up far enough, and that set of issues, they become so small because you are expanded. You are vast, just like the universe. You go deep enough inside of yourself and you come out into the universe. That's what we're exploring during this Pisces time. It's about a process of letting go, a process of release, a process of surrendering the need to control. So oftentimes when we think about Pisces energy, we think about, on the high vibration, this mystical impulse to experience union and oneness with all things. It's about spirituality and transcendence, and that is all true and good and valuable and important when it comes to Pisces energy. But one thing that we don't talk about quite as often when it comes to the Piscean archetypal field is this idea that it relates to endings and sometimes loss. And that is related to the idea Pisces is the last of the 12 signs. So oftentimes it's when we engage with this expanded perspective and recognize that we are all things at all times, all at once, we also see that we have to let go of our worldly concerns, which means letting go of things that we feel we must attach to in order to have value, like money, like where you live, like what your social status is, maybe certain relationships, your job. These are all worldly concerns, earthly concerns that don't come with you after you die. Your spirit comes with you after you die. Your soul comes with you. This is about connecting to, releasing the worldly, earthly concerns and connecting to the part of yourself that is infinite, that is going to continue on with you in subsequent existence, in subsequent lifetimes. So how can you cultivate a relationship with your spirit above all else? Sometimes this process of release, of letting go, helps teach us more than anything else that we are valuable, that we are infinite, and that we are so much more than our earthly or physical concerns. So when we think about this idea that, sometimes perceived troubles or perceived loss or perceived issues in relationship, they actually open the doorway to greater levels of engagement inside of yourself. Like if you imagine, you've heard so many times, there are people who have gotten sick, like a terrifying medical diagnosis, and then 8 months later, once they've gone through the process of healing and really battling this illness, they say retrospectively, getting sick was the best thing that ever happened to me. It's that theme that I want to work with here. That if you're experiencing loss, if you're experiencing trouble, it's a universal lesson that you are not defined by anything that's a physical attachment in this lifetime. We're conquering this identification with attachment, that when you're willing to release or let go of anything that is making an exit in your life right now, or not going exactly as you attached or intended for it to go, that's okay. It's a lesson in knowing that this is one of the best things that could ever happen to you, to know that you are expanded enough to be able to observe this process happening, and that actually the release of whatever it is that's trying to exit your experience right now could be the best thing that's ever happened to you. It can deepen your level of self-love. It can deepen your level of appreciation for being in this precious human incarnation, that it's about the cultivation of your spirit above all else. So any relationships that are not deepening your level of spiritual engagement, it's okay to let that go. Any job requirements that are not feeling like they're in alignment with you spiritually, it's okay to release and disengage with how you think it should be or needs to be in this perfect world. This is a process of surrender so that we can cultivate a deeper level of spaciousness and relationship to that which is divine and beyond the physical material plane during this time, and take that with us forward into the next phase of our journey. So as we deepen our level of engagement inside of ourselves spiritually, we fill ourselves spiritually, emotionally, so that from that place, anything that happens externally, it doesn't faze you. You have an expanded state of being, an expanded state of awareness. So anything that's happening in this contracted level of physical awareness, it doesn't faze you. This is a practice, an opportunity for you to practice the cultivation of your spiritual life. So what can you do during this time, during this Piscean time, that helps you harness a relationship with your own consciousness, harness a relationship with the interconnectedness of all things, to essentially get over yourself as an individual, because we are all interconnected. We are all one. We all have this knowing that lives inside of us that is something beyond this mundane material plane. So anything that is creating tension in your life right now, be willing to let it go. Anything new that's entering your experience, accept it with grace. Anything that's staying, let it stay. This is just a moment in time where we can relax and turn inward, because it's all about the cultivation of the spirit during this time, in order to engage a deeper level of meaning in our journeys as we enter this next phase, this new beginning. So just know we're right turning the corner into a new beginning, a new phase of our journey, which is such a beautiful opportunity for so many of us. And along the same line, when we're operating from an expanded level of awareness, we're actually able to notice more synchronicities, notice more miracles. When we get so hyper engaged in physical reality, we're in that contracted place where we're not observing, and in that place of receiving meaningful coincidences, right? Which are just the universal breadcrumbs being dropped for you to follow into the universe's message for you, that is, this is the next phase. This is the next gift that is available for you. And it's in that expanded state that you can notice in your stream of consciousness, wow, this coincidence, quote, coincidence, is coming into my experience for a reason. What is the message here for me? This synchronistic event is meaningful. I'm expanded enough to notice, and my level of awareness is vast enough that I can notice these meaningful experiences entering my life, and I'm willing to take enlightened action to follow those universal breadcrumbs into whatever message they have for me in this lifetime. So it's a time for magic potentially, but the key in all of this is harnessing a certain level of expansiveness so that you can release what doesn't serve you, creating space for what will serve you in the next chapter of your journey to enter your consciousness, and be expanded enough that you can notice the universal clues and magic that is available at all times to us around every corner, if we're only able to expand our awareness enough to notice. So that's really what our aim is here. And I'm here today to support you and encourage you in noticing the synchronicities, the miracles in your life right now, because right now is a very ripe time for magic, as long as we're operating from that expanded state of awareness. And also to encourage you to operate from a place of surrender and release, and be willing to let go during this time from a place of non-attachment, anything that isn't serving you. And it's from that place that you create a space for the next chapter of your life to be extraordinarily powerful. So today I'm sending you infinite love on this beautiful full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, and I love you, and I'm so grateful for all of you in my life. Mwah.